Hello everyone and welcome. It's Shanna. Now I am working on my Craft Roulette card and I just thought I'd turn the camera on. And so I hope you'll just follow along with me as I create my card. So to review the parameters, you had to make a fun fold. You needed to have nostalgic colors. You needed blanket and buttons. So those were the four elements. So I'm just making a fun fold in which I'm just scoring at 2 1/8 on both sides of my panel. And I'll have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card, but I've just got my panel scored at 2 1/8 on both sides, and we'll have a fun fold card, and that will meet the first element. Now, as far as nostalgic colors go, I really think that that is whatever you think it would be, because to me, nostalgia is a fond memory or a memory from the past. And so you could have any kind of memory from the past that would evoke some nostalgic colors. But I'm going to use kind of a vintage rose and postage scene panel card paper from Not Too Shabby. And I'm going to use two of the 6x6 sheets of pattern paper from Not Too Shabby. This is their Valentine release this year. And I'm just creating my panel here for both of my flip folds. And I've just got this real vintage looking, lovely pattern paper that I'm going to use. And then I'm going to use the other pattern paper. And this pattern paper almost kind of looks like a quilt, and it has the word love all over it. So I'm going to blanket the inside of my card with this pattern paper full of love. And that's how I'm going to meet the blanket element. And I think it'll look just lovely. So we'll just get some glue and we'll get this laid down on the inside of our card base. Now I decided to take my Altenew raspberry ink, mini ink pad, and just rub it along the edges, and it kind of gives it a raspberry, like almost like it has a raspberry panel behind it. You can just barely see it. It just darkens the edges a little bit, and I just thought that'd be nice. And I cut this panel down to 4 by 5 1/4 so that I wouldn't get in the way of my folds, and I'd have a little edge around there. So we'll just get it laid down in there, and I think it looks lovely. I'm using alabaster cardstock for my card base from Spellbinders, and I thought it would look nice with this vintage paper. So now I'm going to get my outside panels adorned with this beautiful paper. And I've got a nice little edge around there. I think I cut it down to, the panel is 2 1/8, so I cut it down to 1 7/8 so that I'd have 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And I'm just taking that raspberry again with my blending brush, and I'm just distressing the edges of that and just giving it kind of a raspberry look around the edges, and I think that'll add to the vintage effect of it. I thought about tearing my paper, but I decided against it, so I'm just going to use this to give it a little more of a vintage look. I'm just going to get that ink cleaned off, and I'm going to bring in the scrap piece of Dune cardstock from Spellbinders. And I've got an old heart from an old Valentine's set from Spellbinders, and it actually had 2 of them. And so I'm going to do a couple different hearts here. I've got the Dune, and then I've got some scrap. I don't know. It's a pink cardstock. I can't recall what it is. And I'm going to die cut them out. I'll die cut a few more hearts as we go along the way, because I kind of, as I'm working with it, decide that I want to kind of go in a different direction. So I will die cut some different ones out as well. But for now, I'm thinking this is where I'm going to head. Now this is the other piece. I cut that panel in half. It was an A2 size panel. I cut it in half to use the heart, probably not quite half. And I'm going to use this nesting die. And I'm going to use this for the area inside my card where I would want to sign it since I put that pattern paper down. And I think it'll look lovely on there. And right now it's off screen because I'm not realizing that I'm lower than that. And then this is where I decide that I might want a heart and a darker color to go with this. And so I'm blending very roughly. Didn't like how it looked, so I flipped it over and I'm going to blend the other side. And I'm just going to blend some of this raspberry ink on here so that I can die cut another heart out and use it for my card. I'll wind up die cutting out another heart out of this. I'll die cut out of vellum, and I will get a teeny weeny heart that I'll make really dark as well. So this just keeps evolving as I go. And I've decided to make this a little bit lighter at the top of my heart and then darker toward the bottom. And for some reason, I keep laying this die cutting machine in the opposite direction. And I'm right-handed and I'm having to reach over it. And I'm like, this is not working, so I have to spin it around so I can get at it. I don't know why I was doing that. I did that like twice. So we've got another heart there. And now I'm going to bring in some vellum, and I'm going to die cut out another heart out of vellum. I don't really know where I'm headed, and so I'm just giving myself lots of different options here. So I'm going to take this blending brush and put just a little bit of that raspberry on this pink panel as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of a vintage look as well. And I'm just kind of going around in a circle until I get it where I want it. And I think that looks nice. So we'll get this laid down on the inside of our card. I'm really liking putting the pattern paper on the inside. I think that's really pretty. Might have to do that a little bit more. It'd be a good way to use up some pattern paper. So we'll get this panel laid down on our outside edge there. And we've got a nice little frame around it. I'm going to try and get it lined up straight. And then we'll do the same on the other. And so I've got my card base adorned and got all my pattern paper down. And now we just need some kind of a focal image in which we're going to use some buttons on. And I think that looks lovely. That's definitely a good start. Okay, so I've pulled in some ribbon and I've got all of these hearts here, and I just need to figure out what I'm going to do with them. So I'm thinking about layering them up, trying to decide how I might want to layer them up. And just kind of, as Gianna would say, I'm auditioning. And I've decided to add another heart. And I don't think I wind up using that. I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine and we'll just cut another heart out. So I'm kind of going to go back to the drawing board here and see how I might want to lay these down on here. And I was thinking about putting, one on each side. And I'm still just not sure what I'm going to do with it. So I'm going to just fuss around with it a little bit. And I've decided that I think I'm going to layer the vellum in between the ink blended heart and the dune colored heart. And I'm just distressing it. And then we'll layer the vellum up with this. And then get it laid down on there. I'm going to use some glue for this part. And we'll just get that laid down on there. And I'm going to put it on the one side. I was thinking about putting this other heart on the other side, but then I thought, well, what did it look like inside? And then I thought, no, I'm just not going to use it. And I've chosen kind of heart that is blended the worst, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to lay my buttons down and stuff on there. So I'm going to bring in this ribbon. This ribbon, I've got a bunch of it. My son-in-law had gone to a swap meet or something with his shift partner, and he found this crafty box of stuff, and he picked this up and got it for me. So I have a bunch of this ribbon. And I thought it could work nice with this vintage card. I think I've used it on a lot of different videos on my channel just because I have a lot of it. So I'm going to glue it down on this panel too, and then we'll put our hearts over it. And this will be a way that we can close our card. So I'm just doing half the heart with the glue. And I'm going to get it laid down on here and get it straightened up. When I turn it, I realize I've got it kind of crooked on there. And just kind of wiping the glue off. And then we'll just use this to tie a bow in it, and this will secure our card so it'll stay closed. This type of fold is hard to keep closed unless you put some kind of a closure mechanism on it. So we'll get this bow tied and we'll cut these strings down. And then I've got this twine I was thinking about using for my buttons, but it's too thick. And so I'll figure it out, and then I'll need to bring in some of my floss. But I'm realizing this is just too thick to go through here. And so I'll go get some floss, and we'll use some floss. I'm just kind of laying them out how I want them. So I'm just going to bring in some pink floss, and we'll just cut off a little piece here, and we'll use some of these to thread these buttons up just so they will look like they're sewn, even though they're not. I'm going to bring in one of my embroidery needles too, and just I'll split this into a couple pieces, and we'll just get our buttons sewn up. And I just sped this portion up because it does take me a little bit of time to sew up each of these buttons. We're going to do 3 of them. I've got a red one and 2 white ones. I've got 2, the red and one of the white are round, and then I've got a square white one that I'm going to use on this. I just have a big tub of buttons that I just kind of dug through and tried to find some that would look okay with this pattern paper and the design that I had going. And then I'm just using some double-sided tape to get it stuck down. And then I added some glue because I was afraid they might come off. And so I went ahead and added some glue, and I had to kind of clean up some of the glue mess. But I'm getting my 3rd one here, and we'll get it laid down on there as well. And then that will take care of our button element for our card. And there we go. So we got all 3 of our buttons laid down on there. And at this point, I'm just kind of looking at my project, trying to decide what I wanted to do with it. And I decided to bring in yet another heart. I had a little tiny heart from my advent calendar that I used earlier in the day for a tag. And I thought I would just ink it up and put it down on there. And I thought I was finished. I even waved at you. And then I thought I need to put a sentiment on there. So I'm using this love die from, it's a cocktail glass set from Spellbinders. And this is the love flag that would go on your stir stick or your straw or whatever. And I'm going to die cut it out and add it as a little sentiment in the Dune cardstock. And I need to tape it. It's not going to die cut out right unless I tape it. So I'm going to get some tape and tape it up. And then we'll run it through there. And I think this will finish it off. So we'll just get this ran through there, and we'll get this die cutting machine out of the way, and then we'll just come back in and we'll get this piece put there. I'm just using the brush too. This is one of them that just presses your letters into it, and you can run the brush on there and it will get the back piece out of it so that you can have a better indentation in there. Now this has a little flap that you could put it around your swizzle stick, and I'm just going to bend it around the flap of the card there and just kind of tuck it in and press down. And I noticed I needed a little bit more glue on it, so I'll add a little bit more glue and get it pressed down. And then that'll pretty much finish off our card. So I think it turned out cute. We met all of the parameters of our card. So thanks for watching and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.